The MTG podcast is a virtual space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industries.
Tune in as we explore inspirational,
educational,
and community insights
through different perspectives, expanding the diverse cultures and societies that reflect us.
We're more than a designer.
We're more than our name badge.
We're more than the work we produce. Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast.
We're that tribe.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, you know, I just was thinking of, by listening to our intro, I was like, oh, Danielle, I used to always say that Cicely's voice was so like that. I said, but you're so like.
Oh, shoot. Thanks.
It's very, very, very nice.
I give props to my mom who laid that foundation for me. She did 33 years in banking, and a lot of the extra like higher end secretarial work was this voice. She had the phone operator voice, the Sade kind of,
Yep. Smooth.
She rocked it.
For sure. Yeah.
She rocked it. And so that's really where it came from. So yeah, thanks. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Priscilla.
And together we make this tribe that is MTG. And I'm so excited because we haven't done really a live episode in a little while, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, life's be lifing. It's always that transition right at the end of school going into summer, and it's just finding our footing as we're also trying to all find spaces for ourselves amongst all the other things and peoples and bodies that we serve as well. So yeah, like it's been interesting. How about you, Priscilla?
Yes, same.
Like how unspoken ditto.
We have like 60 minutes. Like same.
We're on time frame, y'all.
No, but I mean I agree with you. It's just so busy. It seems busier, and obviously it would be busier but it's just like I just can't handle the truth.
Man. Oh, the so truth. Yes. All right. So in case you didn't know, you're about to get served because we're unpacking some thoughts around this month's theme, which is themed serve and served. Like the movie, you got served. We're taking it back to the sacred space for women and minorities in the tech and creative spaces, with or without the water sprinkler dance. We may or may not keep that going.
Now,
so
what year was that movie again?
What? Was it 2008, 18? 2008, maybe a little bit further.
When you say that, I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then when you shared with me what it was, I was like, no, because I'm still, my generation still goes a little bit more back than yours does. And I was like thinking, I think I told you Beat Street, like I was so excited. Now I feel as if I have the dance competition thing. I'm like, I'm used to like that ABC after school special, The Pilot, which we talked about many times. With the parachute outfit and had the helmet on, and then what is it? Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Oh yes, okay, come on, I'm okay with that. I can handle this.
That's the kind of serving. That's the servings. That's my servings. Is that?
Well, either way you look at it, we're serving some topics today in this sacred space, right? So some things that we really want to talk about that we kind of want to jump off with the conversation. One, if you don't know who we are, hi. We are More Than Graphics that serves a safe space for minorities, women in the creative and tech fields. Usually there's 3 of us. There's 2 of us tonight. And I love the fact that each of us kind of reflects his areas in and around tech and creativity. And what makes it even more powerful and even more cool is that we are all women of color. We all absorb spaces in different ways and bring unique perspectives to the conversation in regards to these areas and these genres. So we're all about finding our tribe. And something that we're really proud of recently in regards to finding our tribe is our recent nomination. If I can pull up the right graphic, our recent nomination by Women in Podcasting Awards, the 2024 awards nominee. I am so excited about this part.
Very exciting.
We don't, you know what I mean? Like we talk about being in this space. We talk about adding value, and it's so incredibly amazing that we're seen in this kind of Reader's Choice Awards nomination from the community, within the community that sees us. And it just feels good to be seen. I mean, come on now.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of where I feel like we can really kind of segue into being served today as we talk about today's topics. So let's just get right into it. Topic 1. What has served or inspired or challenged you? And this is a topic I feel like we could talk about quite a bit in regards to being what has served us. How about that award nomination? Like, that's pretty cool. I've also, like, on the side, not to toot my own horn, have also been nominated in some other bigger categories around digital women for myself. My team has been absolutely kicking butt and taking names, and I love it. I am so excited for things that has really served me. Something else that I feel like has been serving me is this recent season of House of the Dragon right now that is completely serving my soul. I love it. I know.
Don't talk about it right now because I haven't caught up to you.
No spoilers. But I'm so pumped for this season. I'm so excited for what's going to happen with that. Not to talk about our next season guest at the end of summer. We've got an actual Game of Thrones commentary, TikTok viral historian, if you will. He is amazing. I'm so excited to have him on the podcast later on after the summer. And then things that have challenged me, like, man, life be lifing, right? So I feel like in a lot of areas I'm feeling challenged as a parent with kids that are growing up and out of house. I feel challenged by my toddler, who is very much at the lower end of that totem pole and still very needy. And then, of course, I'm just feel challenged in general as being a creative and making sure that I'm finding my own footing, my own grounding, that kind of feel. What about you, Priscilla? What is something that has served you?
Well, I'm going to work backwards.
Okay.
So you went into the challenge. I'm going to go back in the other way. And so, like, what's been challenging me lately, as you can tell, I had a fusion at the end of 20, whatever last year was,
2023.
Yeah. And so I just went to my 6-month follow-up. And then they told me that I'm going to see now a shoulder specialist. So that is very challenging because it does affect, obviously, how I feel physically, but it just does wear on me, mentally and emotionally, because I've talked to you back like this all the time. It's like, because, I'm what I do, right? The graphic design, or even now I've picked up sewing and stuff. Everything requires these things. I haven't figured out, and it's my left. It just doesn't feel like I can't do it. So that really is big challenge for me to try to kind of get myself out of that every once in a while, but then also remind myself that I need to I still need to rest and recoup and stuff. But as far as like, and always, like, the inspiration always comes from the two of you guys, my co-hosts and stuff. And, Danielle, you and I always have such conversations that, like, when I'm feeling kind of challenged, I love being able to reach out to you, and we kind of get it back again. Yes. You serve me with great serve.
Yeah.
Serve. You serve me with love and stuff. And so I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I get so inspired by, I say this to you all the time. I get inspired by what you do. I like, because I'm like, if I'm sitting there on my phone and I'm feeling like, I'm like, oh, at least look at her go, like, proud mama.
Oh, I love it.
One of us out there doing things.
I'm trying. Definitely trying, for sure.
You're doing it. Yes, you're doing it.
I love this. Okay, so as we talk about things that are serving you, maybe challenging you out there in our listening audience, let us know in the comments. If you're listening from YouTube, if you're listening from Facebook, thank you. And we encourage you to keep on following and keep on commenting with us in the live chat today. So we've got not any major questions right now, but again, as we kind of go about these topics, feel free to let us know. Tell us how you feel about how you're being served currently. All right, we're moving on to topic 2, which is telling us about the served looks. We're serving looks, and I mean LEWKS, looks. Okay. I love being able to talk about this. It's a big part of, I feel like, especially for us creatives and techies, we want to have that self-expression. So, self-expression through style. How does your appearance, clothing, accessories, hair, etc., reflect your identity or mood in a professional setting? And do you feel pressure to conform to certain standards? I feel like this is like a sort of a, depending on where you are in your life professional journey. Like if you're young, I feel like I don't want to say that. I won't say young because that's not even the way I put it. Because we are definitely
talking to.
Right. We're not even on that scale, right? But it's just more of how you feel, right? How do you feel when you walk into these spaces? So I know that when I walk into spaces, a lot of times I like to embody the heroines that I think of or dream of or are surrounded by. I'm surrounded by constant superheroes all the time because it makes me feel heroic to step into unknown territory and unknown spaces. So if I'm walking in with a Wonder Woman t-shirt, like I did for recently, doing a couple sessions for Women Leading Kentucky recently, talking about AI and how unknown frontier space some of that is for a lot of people who are using it for their business or for their brand. But being able to walk into that space in some Chucks and a pencil skirt and a t-shirt and letting people know like this is who I am, even though I was in a sea of women who were in very professional, higher end clothing and pretty business dresses and, formal-ish kind of gowns, if you will. I walked in there in a t-shirt and some Chucks, and I was not afraid to be like, yeah, me too.
Well, that's like when we did our photo shoot. Your beautiful dress, and you had this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday dress, right? And then you had your Chucks on it, and I was like, perfect. I see, like I feel like that you could pull off. Like me, I don't know if it's because of my height or something like that, and maybe whatever, but I just don't. I have to wear a little bit of a little bit of a lift.
Heel.
Now I'm finding out I got these new Hokas, and they give me a bit of a Steven's got some, and I'm like, did you get taller? He's like, no, it's my tennis shoes. But I find this about your how you're talking about how being out in how other people may see us or whatever, right? It's so ironic that Zoe and I, my daughter Zoe and I, we have this little, it's a mother-daughter journal that you can pass back and forth, and you kind of put little things on it. And the first question that we were doing, it was, how do you think other people see you? And then it was like, how do you want people to see you? And what do you feel inside, and stuff like that. So that was this kind of reminds me of that. I know, for me, since I am home, I work from home, and I don't really go out and do meetings too much anymore. And I'm not doing, the social stuff as heavily as I was. I'm just like, I'm actually dolled up right now, despite this and this. I got a little bit of mascara and stuff on for you. But I do miss getting dressed up, because when I go into spaces, and if I am wearing like what I feel like inside, oh my gosh, it makes me feel so good and stuff. And that's what when I was doing celebrating every single day some holidays, a different holiday, and every day I would get dressed up in a different thing. And I remember the first, I don't know how many hundreds of days, people were like, how big is your closet?
Right.
Like, I don't think you've worn the same thing yet, and so I think that became like a thing where people were trying to see, when is she going to rotate back in? But and I really like doing that, and I think it's good because as for us designers and creative people, it's like, you can kind of tell what kind of designer or person I am by how I look on the outside. Like, I know I went with a client to a nonprofit gala. I mean, it was a conference or whatever. And so I was excited because she has bright hair. And then I got to wear I have this bright kimono thing, and I had a blue bright dress, and we just walked in, and it was just like so funny because everybody else is, the neutral stuff. And here we come in color. We're just like,
right.
Like Romeo and Michelle.
I love it. Yes.
But it felt good because it's like, and I think the other thing is, if you are, if you're presenting your outward the same as you feel in the inward, right? Then it really will make people gravitate towards you, because that's when you feel most confident. Like, I'm really representing myself the way that I feel and the way that I am. And, and people might say, go, intrigued. At least it will make them at least intrigued. And, whether or not they got enough to go, hey, tell me what's
Yes.
what's up with that. But like in yours, for instance, like when you're wearing the chucks and stuff, and I would imagine if you were in a place where most of the women are, wearing the heels and stuff, some people would probably looking like, damn, I should have wore my more comfortable shoes,
Yes.
and yeah, but you are feeling comfortable not only because you have your shoes, but that's because you're in the skin you're in,
Yeah. Absolutely. Self-expression, I feel like there's so many levels to do that in the workplace. But some workplaces are more confined than others, right? We talk about conforming to certain standards. Different places that you may work there. There's a, required, clothing guidelines, attire guidelines that you have to, follow by. But I think I'm so inspired always by watching all of the fashionistas who do their little TikToks and their reels out there. The ones that find ways to still look professionally great and still express themselves. I feel like that is, that's something that I strive for every single time that I'm out. Now, mind you, I'm in a satellite office, right? So I'm not in a physical like building location, that sort of feel all the time. And so I think that also gives me some flexibility in how I choose to self-express myself. So, some days I can wear the nose ring and some days I can't, and there's some days that I can be, completely Wednesday myself out and feel and wear my pigtails and all the things. And there's other days where my hair's up and I'm in the big, luxe bun and all the things. So it just really is like that form of expression. I feel like is so tied into being a creative, and we should be able to express that freely in anything that we do, whether we're presenting a brand slide deck or if we're, just sending an email from the interwebs.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So, all right. So we talk about this confidence in presentation, right? Talk about serving looks and how that impacts our confidence. I know for me, like again, we talk about like being able to present in places, and that sometimes we kind of misstep with the challenges and the microaggressions that also come with it. So I just want to be real. There's moments, I'm sure, Priscilla, you can share moments where there's been some challenges or maybe even some microaggressions from us trying to express ourselves in that way with looks in the workplace, but still being able to, how do you deal with those? Like really on that level. Have you experienced that before or experienced that recently?
It's been a long time since I've been in the workplace, right? And that was in the 1900s.
No, you didn't.
No,
Okay.
No, that's what Catherine always says all the time. She's like, well, you're from the 1900s. Yeah. I mean, not 1900. Well, but I know, like I had, I think one job I was actually expecting. So I was pregnant with Zoe and I had a poncho or something on, and I have these yoga pants that have I don't know if you've seen the ones that overlap, like you can wear it up high and it's like a jumpsuit, or you hold it and it becomes a skirt.
Yes.
Over itself. And the one time I get called by human resources is because I wore this thing, and I guess it looked like, even though it was the same color, it was tone on tone, and it only came down a little bit below my bum. They're like, that's just not okay. And I was like,
well, dang.
I was like this, I'm like, so that was kind of funny. And I remember I was really kind of like offended by that, going, of all the things
right
that I've worn, there you go. Like, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, I got written up for that one.
Oh my gosh.
Right up the pregnant woman.
Right, exactly. I'm like, we already are less on clothes as is. When we're that big, we have very limited resources.
Oh my gosh. When I was pregnant, first time when I was pregnant with Zoe, I was in a full workforce, and I still wore, I wore the heels all the way up until the end and everything like that.
Girl.
But I was still in my 30s. Then when that little dude,
even in your 30s,
little dude in 40s, that was different. That was totally different.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
You? What about you?
I I really haven't really because I've been doing this for so long. Again, third generation entrepreneur, been doing this, kind of freelance on my own. I've always let that be like the barrier for what actually was, positive or accepting for me. If a potential client didn't like the way that I presented myself, then I felt like that was also a telltale sign that I shouldn't work with them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I guess it was more of a way for me to kind of decipher who was a good fit for us and who wasn't, just based upon looks alone. But I try not to be that type. I try not to be judgmental in that way. I just let people pass that on to me so that I can better then decide. Right.
Yeah.
So I was kind of want to keep it open, but at the same time, I don't alter myself to, get people to like me. Right. Well, I feel like so high school. Like I feel like Greece should be playing right now for whatever reason. Like
the thing is like, I don't know if I feel another thing has changed since, the pandemic, right? I don't know if we're calling it pandemic thing or whatever, but that kind of changed a lot because at that point, everybody became on the same playing field. It was kind of like, everyone works from home in their PJs and everyone has whatever. And then I just feel like when everybody kind of maybe came back, people just didn't give a shit. Sorry,
yeah.
People didn't care, and they were just like, hey, I have been cooped up. I am going to, really like kind of let the hair down a little bit more.
Exactly.
And I think that was so refreshing. I mean, it was refreshing on so many levels, right? But, I think that's when people really felt powerful enough, to just show who really they are.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I feel like how people are so different when we're putting on the makeup and the shoes and all the things, right? But how more one-to-one, more personal it becomes when we're having staff meetings. Everyone shows up in their pajamas or their t-shirt. What are we doing now? So I do think that. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Priscilla. That's a great point. Like COVID kind of humbled us in that way to kind of shed some layers. Whether we wanted to or not.
Everybody did what I'm doing now, all the hairy, the crazy hair stuff. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Didn't have the haircuts, and everybody's hair was all checked up. Yay!
I love it. All right, we got to keep it moving. All right, so how about serving justice or serving up knowledge? You talk about you got served. That's a great transition into like additional emotional intelligence. I'm going to focus primarily in the areas of advocacy and allyship. How can we use our voices and platforms to support underrepresented groups in tech and the creative fields? What are some effective ways to be an ally? And I think these are great questions to ask. And when I think about just in general reaching out to underrepresented groups in tech and the creative fields, I am like always trying to find a way to kind of be a bridge. And I walk into spaces constantly, always wanting to serve as a bridge, whether it's a bridge for someone, again, learning something from me, or like a bridge in a way that people can leverage the things that we offer, right? Our services and products. But I know for you, Priscilla, like in other areas, what are some effective ways you feel like people have either chosen to be an ally with you or for you, or how you've chosen to be an ally for someone else?
So many different questions here. I feel like I'm on the spot. I'm gonna witness stand. No, but I was gonna say, like, because you're asking about how can we use our voices and stuff, and I think I think that's one of the reasons why our nominations, is because we do unrepresented big time. And I like that, we are, and I love all the people that you guys bring on, as our guests and stuff. It's just so like amazing. I like when we get to read about the different people, and it's like so many of our past guests, I never would have met them or anything had it not been for MTG, and I'm really grateful for that. I mean, of course, I'll still go scrolling through everywhere, the socials, and find people that way, but I love this podcast, for that, particularly I said that word without really struggling. I should have just let it go to get that part off. No, I think I love this part, that use it, because then we get to hear the people out of their voices rather than reading something on a blog or reading their things. It's really nice to get them in this kind of candid, guerrilla style type of, not guerrilla style talking, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, in this space for sure. I mean, oral storytelling will never die, and it's one of the situations where, and a lot of people think that due to technology, it's like fading out. But this is a way of doing it. This is a way of carrying on a lot of those values of sharing our triumphs and our faults and our trials, right? The problems that we are working through and overcoming. Being able to share that type of wisdom in a platform space is so like touching. And I love the fact that as we even talk about it now, we can think of a handful of guests, right, that have been on our show that have really given us so much deep value. And it's through advocacy and it's through allyship. And they're just serving, right? They're serving up knowledge or serving justice just by being behind the mic and talking about their story.
That's why I keep telling you, I want us to have a round table, right? I want to bring back some of our other guests and stuff, and just, gosh, to see them all in not all of them, but you know, a lot of them in the similar space, and just kind of like, I'd like to sit back there and I'll be the fly.
Right.
Oh my gosh. This up for a minute.
Okay. So what you're saying is we need to have some bonus episodes bringing some of our guests.
I'd like some, please. Please, may I have some more?
Poach, please. Okay. Yes, we can do it. Sharing knowledge and mentorship is another area. You know, we talk about, again, this topic of serving justice, serving up knowledge. How can we create more accessible opportunities for learning and growth for women and minorities in the tech and creative field? And I let me also say, like, when we talk about accessible opportunities, like, what does that look like? Because that seems like a very blanketed statement, but it really is like ways that we can amplify voices, right? Ways that we can stay connected, and then ways that we can encourage each other through resources. I think that for me is like the big chunk of the meaning of this podcast, and the meaning why we're so passionate about bringing on such eclectic voices that represent different types of marginalized groups.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's cool. When you're talking about, I'm reading our, sorry. Well, you're talking about introverted women and minorities and stuff, you know, I think, again, like what I just said this last time, it's like this space, is not intimidating at all. It's like, hey, we're just talking here and we happen to have some people listening in. It's like, I'm always gonna nostalgia it somehow. And it kind of reminds me of the three-way calling when it first came out, and you're calling the boy and you're having your friend sit on there on the other line, and you got to hear what he just said. It's kind of like what this is. It's like, it's
that was a perfect example.
Nice, you know, because it is difficult, I think, for people. I know in the past, I struggle with in-person networking. I do. It's really weird because I feel as if I'm very, you know, whatever, but I can do one-on-ones. I can do small groups. So like if I have to be out I really struggle with it. And so, you know, I think the online space is really convenient, and it's less, you know, for the people that are a little introverted. So I think it's wonderful. And you know, even you know, we're talking about not just like podcasts and stuff, but you have like the blogs and everything like that, because you can say your voice, and you can, so it doesn't have to be like right there. You don't have to like serve all this stuff like in person. You don't have to be, there are ways you can serve anyway, right? Maybe you can even just talk, even like sometimes we have just the audio podcast, even just that. It's like, but it is a skill still that I think people have to, that's why they made us do public speaking, right? In college.
Yeah.
Earlier before. I don't know if it worked for everybody.
Speaking. I clearly remember that in college where we had to do public speaking, and it never bothered me, not once, because all I wanted to do was just amplify the things that I knew. But I saw so many friends and colleagues and strangers I didn't know in that classroom that really struggled like being seen. And I wanted to be super empathetic to that, because I didn't know the things that surrounded them before they got to that moment, right? Like, and the life challenges that they may have gone through to get to that point, you know? And so I always want to be like super empathetic to helping people kind of find and recenter their whys, or recenter even like their their vision for what they want through that process. Public speaking was just a way of me confirming that I was meant to be loud. I was meant to be heard, and no one's going to be able to tell me that I can't. So that's what public speaking taught me. Shout out, go Hilltoppers. Woo. All right. Okay, so I think that actually this is right on topic here to kind of move on to served up career or advancement. So we're talking about serving. You got served. This is definitely career goals and ambitions. What are some career milestones that you're aiming for, and how can we support each other in reaching our goals? So a career milestone for me, definitely expanding and growing the team, wanting to bring in more to create more, bring in more to create more impact. That's really kind of a bigger long-term goal for me as I grow as a businesswoman. And then ways that I support that, I like to again, as I'm receiving all these things, like we just had our 8th hire less than 2 weeks ago. And so that was really kind of scary for me in some areas, just because it's something I'm expanding, but at the same time, I immediately am getting the receipts from that because the work is being done. It's super fast. I don't have to worry. And so there's that part of me that kind of, holds on to some of that for goals and ambitions. But the other ambitious part is because I know I can do more, I'm now creatively in my mind spending more time on how I can do more for the people that need it the most. So again, like for me, my business is focused on really supporting and elevating and creating the generational wealth for minorities and marginalized businesses. My focus is primarily in that area. Even though we serve everybody, our heart is really with serving specifically the 78% of small businesses, Black and brown small businesses that don't make it past the second year, right? Like that stood out to me so hard because I've been in this game for way longer than that. Yeah. So I wanted to intentionally stigmatize that. I want to gut that factoid so bad. And so whatever way that I can do that by serving my community in that way, that's where I'm wanting to go. Now, mind you, I'm not an open door, right? This doesn't work that way. This is a pay to play, but it also is a way for me to give to community in that way too. And that's really important to me as I talk about career goals and ambitions. Okay, that was my rant. I'm stopping.
I feel like I should have gone first. Always speak first.
You do it.
Well, no, I think mine, just because of my recent health stuff, and you and I have many of these conversations where I feel as if it is probably more than likely I have to make some sort of shift. I can't work like what I was doing before on the computer all the time and stuff. And it used to really worry me because I was like, well, what can I do if I don't have my hair? Right? But the thing is, what I always believed, we talk about, what is your strength, right? My strength is the way my mind works, my creativity. And it's like, I can use it in other ways. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of at a wonderful point right now in my life, entering almost year 51, right? In November, that it's nice because I say secure, I guess the most secure that I felt my whole entire life. And it's like, I see where I had in my mind where my business was going to be. Right. But then, as we go on, sometimes it changes and stuff. And I sit there and a lot of times, I see what you're doing or what other people were doing when they started, the same entrepreneurs, they started the same time I did. And I see, we see on the outsides how they're all like this and that. And then I'm just like, hey, here I am in my son's room with my pad on the thing. But then I also think about yeah, I am so much older. I have 2 young kids still, and I'm in a relationship, and we've got a 13-year-old, and I also, dealing with all the other family things that I had, or life things I had dealt with, being single mom of 2 up until 3 years ago. Right. And also thinking about this stuff, what I want to do is I'm happy. I have some steady people then I
Yes.
feel like I'm perfectly fine doing what I love it. I feel good, but I feel as if coming up this next season that I'll be able to start doing things, for me, because I know I love branding for
Yes.
people. I love coming up with all this stuff, but it's like I feel like at this point in my life, I'm like, I want to do something that's really, me, that I feel good in. And maybe it's not to, and because I felt that secret, maybe I don't need to do it for monetary things, but of course I'd like to, but like when I was doing the celebrations thing, that was for me. And
Yes.
I know that that was a wonderful thing, but it's in a different place now. And I'm going over to 2.0. And, you and I are working on this and I'm working on it. And I'm excited because this is some things talked a lot before about what we wanted to do when we were younger and stuff. And I'm at
Right.
this thing that my friend always told me from second grade that I always wanted to be a fashion designer. She remembers me doing all that stuff. And I've finally really am picking up sewing, and I'm talking to you about some plans, and also I always wanted to do papered goods. Like I thought it was going to be Hallmark. I was going to work at Hallmark,
Yes.
but I just watch it, and I live it, but I want to be in those. Like I'm seeing where, especially having to take that time back, time off, I mean, to just rest and stuff and get my body up. And it does, it since my mind's been through lots of different like tumbling and roller coasters, but the one that keeps gravitating it is like, the heart just kind of beats a little bit steady and it wants to be like, hey, we're okay. It's like all that
Mhm.
stuff we felt before. And I know I call lots of friends all the time, panic, but really it's not. It's like I do look back and I think I was very lucky, very grateful. I mean, think of how, yes, had I continued that one path, where would I be?
Right.
But I think I know for myself, I've always been able to trust my gut and my instinct. And my instinct was just to, like here. And it's like, that's not it. I felt like it wanted to be that way when I was in a certain life stage. But where I'm at,
Yeah.
it's now I'm okay. I mean, not like it's gonna be like this, but I want to have my I don't want a flat line. You don't want to have blood pressure, but I just want to kind of an even little pitter patter going on.
Of course.
And so, yeah, that's I just, and I love being able to support in, I do have a connection with nonprofits. And I always felt like, being a creative, that was my big thing. I was like, as a creative, I'm like, I want to help the little guy. I don't want to, right.
Yes.
Because that's where I always say that for me, the nonprofits, they're most deserving of being seen. And it's hard for them to be seen, just
Yeah.
space in general and all the things. But, I love anytime I can support, them or, even, yeah, I don't know, period. Brain, mommy brain.
We love nonprofits. Yes.
That kind of all of a sudden it just like,
We love nonprofits. This is where it's at. But
yeah.
I completely hear what you're saying. Like, I feel like in a lot of ways, depending on where we were or where we are in life, period, overcoming different types of obstacles and challenges, whether we face them in our career path or personally in life, like the way that we overcome them really helps steer a path for ourselves, therefore, right? Like if we, depending on how we answered the question or made that one decision or kept that one friend or didn't keep that one friend or anything along those lines, choosing those right paths or choosing a path period is like ways that we really deter our future. And so it's really important, like not to put us on pins and needles at every little decision, is it the red pill or the blue pill? It's not like that. It's just really a matter of understanding that everything has its own equal and opposite reaction. And depending on whatever you choose to do is there's no file or no judgment. It's just that know that that's the path that you're on and you have the ability to pivot from it at any point, shape, or time. So
yeah, and then as far as like supporting and stuff, I think it is important. I love having this platform for me particularly because I'm not as out there as you are, or some of the other creatives are, but I'm like I still am, a creative person. I still am, but I'm not like, I don't want to do the hustle bustle thing type of thing. I physically cannot handle it. But
man.
I love being able to share my experiences and my stories. And in that in that vein, that's how, you know, I can support somebody that maybe, and that introvert person or anybody, because like, you know, we talk about like the women, you know, and the minorities and stuff, but you know, I bring up a lot of times about age, you know, just because
Yes.
it's like, you know, like those women in Hollywood, like, you know, unless you're like Helen Mirren or you're like just, you know, but it's, yeah, I want to talk about like the Diane Lanes, because she was really hot.
Yes.
That one movie Unfaithful, yeah, she came out, I was like, wow. Or Jennifer Connelly, I'm like, hello.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
mean, there is still a space, you know, there's a space for that, really big space for it. I mean, and then, you know, we're also going into the, when we're older, you know, our kids, you know, some of us don't have young kids like I do. And some of them, a lot of my friends, their kids are already going off to college. My oldest is just going to go into 6th grade.
Right.
I'm so
Yes.
young. But you know, and that plays a big part in, you know, as far as women, and if we're mothers, partners, you know, that plays a big part on how, where our career and stuff goes.
Yeah, I love this. And so that really kind of goes into like this other area of negotiation and self-advocacy. Like, how can we better advocate for ourselves in terms of, you know, salary and promotions and recognition? And I think as you're talking about recognition, right, in this area, especially when it comes to things like ageism, things along those lines, like I really, 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 really like believe like our experiences is the real currency of life. And so whether you're 50 years old or you're 27, if you're 20, whether you're 21 or 48 or 30 something. So it's one of those situations where it's like, for me, experience is the true currency. And it really kind of also reconfirms to me that, you know, especially in the tech and creative fields, we're really not, age is that number that we're not really basing, you know, our life on, our life scale on. It really is about the contributions that we make to individuals and in circumstances and platforms throughout our life. And I think that's the part, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So many of us on this level understand that as a creative, as a techie, we get that. But in other areas of life, we're kind of, but you know, there's that. But then there's the other part of that, right? We talk about being more than graphics, more than the things that we produce, more than our name badge, right? So there's like the flip side coin of that. Yeah, I just thought it's very interesting topics as we talk about like negotiation and value and that self-advocacy part.
Oh, Cicely, when we had that one episode, she talked about the negotiations and stuff, and I'm like, I need to bring you along with me. But
right.
But then again, you know, like I said, I get to a place where I'm like, I'm happy with what I'm satisfied. Are you satisfied with your healthcare? Big Hero 6.
Right. Let's go.
Are you satisfied with your, and I am very satisfied with what I'm putting out there. And it's like you said, money, you know, isn't always the currency of it. Like I have so much, you know, decisions in which I've made that you know about. It's like, it's not, yes, we need it, you know, we need it to live and everything, but it's just not, that's, you know, I want to feel proud. Like, I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't feel good about what you did to, you know, then it doesn't matter. And it's like, sometimes it's like, I've had some jobs, you know, that they're just, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, you know, if somebody younger came out fresh, you know, but I just try not to think that way, you know, because I've always just been like, I want to be proud of what I'm doing, and I want my client to be happy with it, and you know, I want them to just feel like they were, you know, that they're seen and stuff. And like, in a lot of that stuff, you can't. That's why I always have problems, you know, like with the rate.
Right.
Rate is always so huge, is a huge thing, you know, for always talking about for creatives and stuff. And some people, they can have it set at certain things, but you know, I still kind of try to go by that gut thing. And I think you were really good at helping me figure out some stuff, because you're like, can you be okay with that? Yes. Yes.
Short answer, yes. Yeah.
I take care of you, little birdie.
That little gif that keeps popping up all the time. Here, little birdie. Here, little birdie. That's so cute. Oh my gosh. All right, that kind of brings us to our very last topic of the night, which is all about serving a slice of life, community building. And I love this because this area really is kind of what we're just talking about now, like life in general, creating safe spaces. How can we continue to amplify creating this virtual safe space and even in-person communities where more introverts like us, women, and minorities feel seen, heard, and supported? And obviously, this podcast is one. We talk about, how, and we're so appreciate again just being nominated for a podcast award that talks about being serving women in this community, in the space. That's so important to us. So the fact that, that makes me feel kind of like, yay, we're doing something, we're going in the right direction. Other areas is just creating those in-personal meetups. I, for one, am ready to go on a patio lunch tour for the month of July, where I'm just literally popping up in different places around town and telling people, show up. You want some advice, I'll give it. If you want to just eat lunch and not say anything, we can do it. Like, whatever the community, like, I'm just wanting to reach out and really kind of grasp and hold on and be thankful for the community that has been so supportive of me and around me in spaces. So that's just two areas that I feel like we have really been able to serve these virtual spaces and then in-person communities. How about you, Priscilla?
Well, I was gonna say, if you're eating lunch with me, we're not just gonna eat. We're gonna obviously talk. We're probably gonna talk more that we're gonna have to take a to go. We need to take this food home, and I'll eat it later. I'll heat it up. No, but I mean, yeah, creating safe spaces is very important. And I think, really the way that you create that, though, is like, yeah, sharing your story and be vulnerable, vulnerable more than, I mean, I don't want to say vulnerable more than genuine, but, I mean, I think that, if you share your vulnerability, people can figure out right off the bat if you're being genuine or not.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of play like you're genuine, but you're not really, if you're not really sharing,
yeah,
your
I completely agree.
and that's really important. And I think that's one of the things, like with us here, we are very open about some conversations and stuff. And, like I also know it's great, when people, like they used to have the, I mean, they used to, I know people still do meetups and stuff like that,
Like, yeah, I'm about to say I do those.
Well, I mean, I still am not, I'm hoping to get back into that place, but just because of where I'm at, it's difficult to do that. But even in the, in the virtual world, just, doing that. But yeah, the in-person stuff, and I think is really, that's how, because like otherwise it's just so like, you and I and Cicely, and like I told you, like we've been family for freaking since the 1900s. No, since early 2020s or whatever.
Right out the dinosaurs.
And, yeah, I know. And we hadn't met each other until like in the fall.
Yes.
And that made a difference. That made a huge difference to me. Because I remember when I left, of course, when I left and then I chipped my tooth. But I mean, but even despite that.
I forgot all about that. That's right. You did.
On a Whopper.
Did I give it to you? Did I give you the
You gave me the
granola
Whopper.
bar?
You did. It was a Whopper. It was a candy Whopper. And it was me, but it was me that chose it. So it's like, here I am again in the suits thing, right? I was Mike, you were Harvey. I was like talking about served, right?
Yes, it's a whole nother level of served. Y'all watching Suits. Oh my gosh, yes, a different whole level.
But yeah, but I think creating that safe space is I think that's the only way to make people feel safe, is if you feel safe enough with them.
Yeah, that's so
we do that like with our clients and stuff, right? Because they want to know that they're safe with us. And so, you just got to be personable with people. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, yeah, you can't, the feeling seen, heard, and supported and all that stuff. But it's also on those people that feel unseen, heard, or supported. It's like they need also, so you need to step up to a degree. Right. Because it's like, I've done that a lot of times where I'm just wallflower and it's not going to happen if you don't, like a lot of this stuff, like a lot of our themes that we talked about this year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I love this. Thank you for bringing that up, Priscilla, because that kind of leads into like these building connections. Like, what are ways that we can foster genuine connections and friendships within our own industries. And you illustrated that perfectly, actually. It's just kind of finding your tribe, showing up, right? We talk about being able to just show up, whether it's virtually or in person. A lot of times I will meet the coolest people because I just showed up. I was in the back of the room, or I was somewhere in the middle, just not trying to be seen. And someone nudges me and says, hey, like, let's cross contacts. Let's share our, Instagram handles or whatever. And
they told you, hey, I love your Chucks, right?
Correct. Or the number one compliment that I get, y'all, believe it or not, is, Danielle, I love your glasses. Sure. Where do you get those?
Yeah. I know. I still say it. You tell me like probably every couple months, and I'm always like, did you tell me this again?
So yeah, this particular brand is out. Like, you can't get it nowhere anymore. So yes, if my toddler decides to break my glasses again, I will have to find something similar, but it won't be exact. So this color is very, very special.
That's duct tape.
You're right. Well, we tried that too. Right? Can I just like red marker pen?
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm a sidebar. So my glasses, the little thingy here is so small. It's so small. It's even smaller. It's micro smaller. So
smaller.
So I just am constantly like. So if you find something like really small, like that would be in a bug's life.
Oh my gosh.
That's what size I need. So if anybody can tell
wow,
the smallest. I mean, it's like I want to take a piece of paper or floss. Oh, you know what? Let's try floss.
Here we go. Fishing wire. Here we go. Fishing wire. Here we go. It's about to happen. It's about to go down. We'll have to send you the pictures.
Well, you can help me when you come on your little tour and you
pass okay. I'm for this.
I am very excited about that.
I know, right? Me too. Okay, so last wrap up of this section is really kind of serving as we talk about serving a slice of life and community building, networking and collaboration. How can we effectively network and collaborate while staying true to our introverted personalities? And I think this has been really the heart of everything that we're talking about today, right? It's really, we can effectively network and collaborate by just talking, walking into spaces. And for some of us, talking is harder than walking. For some of us, walking is easier than talking. And so for me, it's not even a matter of doing both. It's doing one or either or, depending on what's best for you, what's comfortable for you. But I think all of us can agree on some level, as a creative or as a techie, being true to ourselves is more important sometimes than building community. And I'm so guilty of that. I am so freaking guilty of it. Like, I will sit in my bubble because I know my bubble is safe and known and loved and all things, sometimes than wanting to touch place with someone else, period. And so I had to really get out of my fishbowl of thinking that you're not the only one. I know that seems like, maybe that offends you in some way. If it offends you, then you need to really get out of your fishbowl. But I feel like it's important that we step out in these places, because in order for us to grow, we have to go. Book of Cicely, right there. That is an yes.
Her. She sounds fabulous. No, I think but for me, right? I know it's what has served me the most was the collaboration that, because you and I, we're in the same field. Mm-hmm. We had some slight little tweakings here, but it's like, I feel like after we have our conversations, and if I'm feeling I feel so much more, rejuvenated and energized. Because I know, like, the last conversation we had, you're like, okay, you've already started on this thing, because and having that person to bounce the things off of that's like passionate about the same things you are, or you be with the people that they want to see you, that's like you become family and they want to see you thrive, and they want you, they want you, like, if you're feeling down, they want you to, hey, come out of your bubble already, or something like that. And it's great because if you have that safe environment altogether, then that means everything. It's like I can feel like safe. I feel so safe, like with you, for instance, that I share some really, some real stuff, real stuff,
Mhm.
and not just fake stuff. The real stuff, and it's great because I know those times that I've really needed it. It's like
Mhm.
I know. I mean, we know that we can come to each other, and it's never, it's like if one of us have an opportunity or something, we just call up the other one. Hey, this is, and I know I'm always trying to connect people, with you, and we know each other's skill sets, so it's so great to go, hey, I'm not of this, but this person does, or you can work together. And when you work
Yes.
together and you have those, like, we're not 100% here, not 100%, but our 75 and 25 or whatever math it is can go together, and we can make a real great,
Yes.
110%, even though that math didn't add up. But that's, yeah, I mean, I that's where my favorite thing is. And I think, for me, I don't market myself, right?
Mm.
I try doing that. It doesn't, I get more of it from, more business from word of mouth,
Mhm.
or by just, people like, they can speak up, they can speak for you.
Yes.
And it's great. And that's the way I prefer it to be, which when I finally got into that mindset that I don't need to do all this other stuff, because I know how good I am at what I do. I
Yes,
have
you
people
are.
that I got people that speaks for me, right?
Yes.
you know, and and then it's like I also have that, what we always say, what's meant for you will not pass you by. And it's so
Yes.
true. It's so
Mm.
true. And but it's, yeah, this is feeling the safe space, being vulnerable, and just, kind of just sitting and thinking about, you know, who in here in this case, like, served. How do I want to be served? Who do I want to serve? And all that thing. And if you really just think about it, it's like all the answers are really there if we could just settle our mind, and we have the right people to talk about it with. Like, I know a
Oh,
lot of
man.
times, right? You and I are talking, and I start off like here, da, 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 and then while it went over, and then I go over here and I go, hey, that light bulb goes off, and I know you've been just sitting there going, make my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or your fancy foods that you have Pinterest, right? And making it, and then you go, oh, thanks for meeting up. I caught up to where you knew along. And that's the thing too, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes our people know, it's like we're like the moms. I know what you need to do, but I'm going to let you get there. And
Yeah.
I'm going to wait for you here. I'm waiting for you here with our peanut butter jelly sandwich. And then when you're ready, you come in back when you're done,
She is
and
telling on me. I just want everybody right now. Like,
but you don't do peanut. I've never seen you do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I've seen some of this other fancy stuff, and I'm like, whose whose feet did you swipe that picture off? Because it's so fancy. All of your stuff is so fancy. I want to try it. I want to try all those dishes, but I can't.
I hear you. I hear you entirely, which totally goes back to us continuing again to that networking collaboration, like bonding. And I love that because, again, staying true to ourselves doesn't mean we have to sell ourselves out or make ourselves smaller or short. It literally is just putting yourself out, right? Just putting yourself out there one little step at a time. Maybe it's something on a more virtual level where you're not physically having to get up and move around. That has worked a lot for me in some areas because I do want to network, but I'm not physically able to do that. My life is dedicated in other
Yeah.
areas where I physically am limited in that way. So there's other areas where I am physically able. And I will say over the past year, since I've pushed out my more of a personal brand for myself in regards to, being a speaker and an advocator and a moderator and a more of a virtual speaker in general, I have been able to put myself in other areas where I can be seen, more visibly seen. And people are taking me a little bit more seriously with the credibility and the values and the skill sets that I have. So that, like I said, networking and collaboration has kind of been the key set for me and kind of pushing myself in a certain direction so that I can have that visibility. So again, I love these topics. You've been served, y'all. Like, for real. You have been served. It is a little bit over our time. So I just kind of want to wrap up with any final thoughts that you may have, Priscilla, in regards to being served on this episode podcast.
No, but I think we're gonna have a watch party for this. Right? Go find your Adidas or Pumas or whatever you want to put on. I've got some cardboard downstairs. We did that for Friday the 13th. We can do it for this stuff again too.
Oh man,
I'll set it
okay,
up.
we could totally put together a watch party. We're gonna have to figure this out because I do enjoy that. And I love the fact that we can always come back and rewatch episodes over and over again. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
have not listened to a single episode of the More Than Graphics podcast, you need to do that. mtgthepodcast.com is where you can go and get all of that information. More info about Priscilla and our podcast sister Cicely and me, and where you can connect with us and vibe with us in all the places. So beyond wherever you're listening today, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook or on LinkedIn, we want to stay connected with you. We want you to continue to follow More Than Graphics. We are an multi-award nominated podcast. And it's really cool that we can even say that and continue to shine light on women and minorities in the tech and creative field. So thank you for tuning in. Again, for exclusive emails and comprehensive episode details, visit mtgthepodcast.com, and don't forget to connect with us on social media. So remember that you are more than graphics, and we hope this space continues to ignite you on whatever wave of inspiration to be more than ... All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
And just like that, the episode ends, but the convo has just begun.
Thanks for listening to the MTG podcast.
We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it a review on your listening app of choice.
Continue to follow us across MTG socials.
And look out for bonus content releases throughout the year. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios.
Until next time, friend.